Hi there. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this little fringed AirPod case with two colors of yarn, and it uses a little carabiner to secure it shut and to clamp it to your keyring or your backpack or whatever. You can pull the carabiner off, and there's the AirPods right there. Slide the AirPods right back in. There we go. And grab your carabiner and insert it in between the stitches on the top. There you go, right there. And basically all you're going to need is two colors of yarn. I'm using a G-size crochet hook, a yarn needle, and the scissors, of course. And you can get these little carabiners on Amazon pretty easily. You can get, I think, a box of like 100 for like 10 bucks. They're not very expensive, something like that. And they come in different colors. So if you want to color coordinate your carabiner with your AirPod case, you can do that too. So let me go ahead and set this one aside. And I did the first panel that I'm going to use for this case. So now I'm going to take my yarn and show you how the panel was made. So let me go ahead and I'm going to move this out of the way. And I'm going to slide that to the side. Let's take our taupe yarn and make a slip knot. I tend to use very long tails. So now the first thing you're going to want to do when you have your yarn on the hook, chain 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So then you're going to want to insert the hook into the first chain stitch, yarn over, pull through, and then pull through that other loop that's on your hook, making a slip stitch. So you made your little circle here, just like when you're doing a granny square. Go ahead and chain up 3. Okay, so there's 3. And now what you're going to do, these are not just your normal 3 double crochets like you would do on a granny square. These are 3 double crochets together. So it's a little bit different. And you're going to do 8 of these clusters all the way around. So let me show you how these clusters are done. The chain 3 that we're looking at here is considered a double crochet. So go ahead and yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop. You'll see that you'll have 3 loops on the hook. Okay, so there's the chain stitch and then these 2 loops. Yarn over, pull through the 2 loops right there. Stop right there. Basically, you've just made half of a double crochet. It's kind of hard to see, but it's there. So let me go ahead. Yarn over. Okay. Insert, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. There we go. So now we have 3 loops on the hook, the chain, the first double crochet that we didn't finish, and the second double crochet we didn't finish. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on the hook. That's the first cluster. A little weird to see, but that's okay. Now what you want to do is chain 2, okay, and do another cluster. Yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, okay. One more time, yarn over, insert the hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, one more time. There we go, right into the ring, okay. Now we have 4 loops on the hook. The first one is from the chain 2 over here, but the next 3 are those double crochets that were not completed. Yarn over and pull through all 4, completing the cluster stitch. Chain 2, okay, that's creating some space in between the clusters. We're going to do another cluster stitch. yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull through 2 and stop. That's 2 out of 3. Do one more. Okay, 2. I've got 4 loops on the hook. There we go. Chain 2. Okay, this is working pretty well. We've got 3 out of 8. We'll do a 4th one. There we go. Just pull through 2 each time. Going to keep that ball of yarn from falling off my desk. Hold down that tail. There we go. There's our 3 incomplete double crochets, and we have a total of 4 loops on the hook. That's exactly what we want. And chain 2. I am going to go ahead and do all 8 clusters on this and come right back. So now I have 7 clusters worked into that little ring that I created. I'm going to do the last cluster. 2, yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up the loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Go. There we go. All 4 loops are on the hook. Pull through all 4, chain 2. So now I'm going to look at the very first cluster I made. I'm going to find the chain 3, and then I'm going to go into the top of that chain there, and then we're going to just work a slip stitch to join. Very easy. And now, where's my scissors? I'm going to cut the yarn, and I'm going to go ahead and finish it off. And I'm going to go ahead and snip this tail that's on the back off. Normally I would sew it in a little more securely, but for the purposes of this video, this is fine. And I'm going to grab a yarn needle and sew in this tail real quick too, because I don't want it getting in the way. So let me just push it through to the back, flip it around. There we go. Bury it under these loops here. Sure it's not visible or, about to fall out or nothing like that. That should be sufficient for the purposes of the video. There we go. Snip that off. We have the center. Okay, right there. Whoops. And now we're going to add the white yarn. So let me set that to the side. Pick up my white yarn. Okay. This to the side. We're going to be doing the same cluster stitches all the way around the center. So what you're going to do is find a space, any space, in between the clusters. There we go. And when you have your hook right through that, lay the yarn over and pull it through, just like that. What I do, I'll take the working yarn, which is still attached to the cake. I'll make a slip stitch. Then, in order to make sure it's secure, I'm going to take the tail, I'm going to pass it between the hook and the working yarn, hold it in place back there, and chain 3. That's so it doesn't slide out while I'm working, and I can sew it in with the yarn needle at the end of the project. So we're going to do a cluster and then chain 2 and cluster again right here in this space. So let's do our first cluster. Up right there. There we go. We have our 3 double crochets that are not completed, but we just completed them. So chain 2, right? And right here, by the way, I'm burying the tail underneath so it's also secure. In the same chain 2 space, We're going to work another cluster. I'll make sure I do not catch that tail. There we go. Up there, go back in. There we go. There we go. Now we have the 4 loops that we want and the 3 incomplete double crochets. So we'll just go ahead and pull through all 4, chain 1. In the next space down here, in between these 2 clusters, we're going to do the same thing. Work a cluster, chain 2, work another cluster, chain 1. There we go. We have all 4 loops on the hook. There we go. Pull through and chain 2. We're going to cluster again. Go. One more time. Pull through and chain 1. That gives us a little wiggle room so that the piece doesn't pucker too much. So now we're going to do another cluster, chain 2, cluster, chain 1. There we go. Pull through, chain 2. And you can slide it over just a touch if you feel like you need a little extra room. And we're going to cluster again. There we go. Pull through, chain 1. Now I'm going to complete the round, and I will come right back when I'm back to the beginning. So I've almost completed this round with the white yarn. So I have one more space to go. So I'm going to cluster. There we go. Got the 4 loops on the hook. Yarn over, pull through. Chain 2. Okay. And then I'm going to cluster one more time. There we go. 1, 2. Props if you know what that's from. 3. Okay, now pull through all 4 loops, chain 1. Let's make sure that our stitches are where they need to be, that we've done 2 clusters and separated by a chain 2, of course, in each little space down here. Make sure our stitch count is right. It's all going to match. Everything is good. So now we're going to come to the top of this chain and work a slip stitch to join. And we're going to cut the yarn right there. There we go. Pull through like this to finish it off. And I'm going to go ahead and sew in the tails. This one is buried underneath, so I'm going to go ahead and cut that right where it is. There's that. And this tail I'm going to real quickly sew in. What are you doing with my scissors? So, there we go. And I'm going to push this to the back. Whoops. Flip it around. And I'm going to start burying it under these loops down here. The white yarn with this light is creating quite a glare that I hadn't anticipated. Push through that right there. We'll call it woven in for the time being. Snip the yarn and off it goes. So now we get to take our two pieces. The way I've done it is I find where the join is. Let me see if I can find where that join is. There we go. Right here at the top. Find where the join is on the other one. I line those up and I put them back to back. Okay. So, because the carabiner is going to go right through here. I'm going to leave this open so that the AirPods can be inserted right down through the top. So, I'm going to look at this. I want to leave enough space for my AirPods to go through. So I looked at, I have two over here and two over here on either side of this carabiner. That's where I'm going to start stitching them together. So, I've got to keep this nice and lined up. Let me have the white yarn. Okay. So, that should be good. What I'm going to do is take this particular circle, going to put the yarn on, pull that through, going to work a slip stitch. And then I'm going to find the same spot. Gotta keep this lined up. It can be a little bit tricky. Okay. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for, there's a stitch that's right there. I'm going to make sure my working yarn is kind of in the center of these two. I'm going to insert my hook in the coordinating space, yarn over, and work a slip stitch. And at first you want to be careful because it's a little loose. You'll be able to sew that in just a minute. Then you go to the next stitch, insert the hook, pull the loop through, and work a slip stitch. Right there. There we go. Do the same thing on the other circle. The next stitch, slip stitch. And then do it right here, slip stitch. Coordinating space on the other circle, work a slip stitch. Next stitch, insert the hook, work a slip stitch. This is going to create a braided look. Okay, you have to find the coordinating stitch. It can be a little tricky and it can be a little fiddly at first. But let me pull out my sample here. It creates a really nice sort of braided look, if you can see that, on the finished case. And that's what you're going to attach fringe to if you want to have some fringe. But that is the sort of, shadowing will make a difference, probably not. Just see the braided look of the stitches on the finished case, just barely. It's very subtle, but it creates a nice look on the finished case, so it's worth the fuss. So you want to come back over here. Here's the next space to go into. Work your slip stitch, and be careful about pulling it too tight. You don't want to jerk on it or make it pucker. Just pull it through and just make sure it lays nice and neat. And you do this all the way around until you come back to the coordinating spot on the second circle. Sometimes it will give you a little bit of a hard time. There we go. You can start to see the braided look forming right here. Like I said, it can be a little bit fussy, but it's such a pretty look. And basically, you want to try and keep your working yarn behind your two circles, in between them, so that when you insert the hook, you can grab it, pull it through, then go to the next circle. Okay. Insert the hook, grab the yarn, pull it through, work your slip stitches. There we go. Right. So keep doing this all the way around until you get to the equivalent spot, basically. You want to leave an opening in the top for your carabiner and so that your AirPods can go in. So you want to basically come around to that spot right over there and make sure that it's equal, it's lined up on both circles. I'm going to finish this off and come back at the end of this. So I have stitched all the way around both circles. So what I'm going to do is cut the yarn. And I'm going to finish it off like that. And I'm going to take my yarn needle and I'm going to turn this inside out. And I'm going to sew in the tails to where they're going to be on the inside of the little satchel, the little bag. So I'm going to go ahead and thread my yarn needle. And then tug, hold it together. And bury this tail underneath the stitches. Okay, there we go. Oops. Hee hee. There we go. And then I'm going to pass it back underneath. Okay. I'm going to call that completed. Okay. Toss that to the side. This last tail over here. And get it on the yarn needle. And I'm going to basically do the same thing. Put it on the back side. There we go. I'll call that completed for the time being. That's fine. Snip that off and then turn the bag right side out. There we go. And I think where on this one I used white yarn to match the outer row, I'm going to use taupe yarn. I could use both actually. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to pull off a huge amount of yarn off of this ball of yarn. Snip that off. And let me see if I can. What I'm going to do, I'm going to take this super, super, super long piece of yarn and I'm going to fold it in half. Here's the two ends. Okay. I'm going to take this, match it up with the other end. It's a weird way to do fringe, but hey. And I'm going to do it one more time. There we go. So I have something that looks basically like this. I just kept folding it in half. So now I'm going to snip that. Carefully snip the other end too. I've got some folds here that I need to snip. I'm gonna lose that. Okay, so we're going to snip that. Snippy, snippy. Got a fan blowing over here because it's a little bit warm. There we go. Snip that. And now, let's see here. The top. And now I'm going to use the hook to add these on. You just pull it through like that. And then you're just going under the loops that you just created. Okay. Oops. Didn't want to cooperate. There we go. Okay. Get over the hook, pull it through, then pull the ends through. Doesn't want to cooperate with me right now. There we go. Snug. And you can keep adding until you have as much fringe on the bottom as you like. I'm going to go ahead and continue to add fringe and I'll come back. So I have the fringe added to my AirPod case and I'm going to just try to neaten it up a little bit on the ends. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just kind of got missed one. There we go. Get those little pieces out of here. And there we go. We have a fringed AirPod case. And I'll borrow the carabiner off of this one for just a moment. There we go. I'll pull the AirPods out of this one. There's the new one. There we go. Fits right in there. There's our beginning where the joint is. And there we have it. We have our little fringed AirPod case. Very good. And of course, you can do any two colors you like. You don't have to add the fringe, but I just think it looks cute. It kind of gives it a little bit of a hippie vibe, you know. And there we have it. So thanks for watching.